saw him hit
I got a question for you.
It jumped is what it did.
Let's talk about turn one. We're sitting at the end of pit road right here.
Thinking about how far I'm going to drive it off in without lifting.
What a conversation with yourself. From a driver's perspective, when you're sitting in your car at the end of pit road and you see these guys going by you and you're thinking to yourself, all right, how much throttle do I have to use right here? I couldn't hardly drive my car 30 minutes ago.
I stood over here and watched qualifying. I sat on the pole here once, and I did it by standing right here and watching where everybody lifted getting into turn one. I said, all right, that's my point. Come hell or high water, I am not lifting until I get to that point, and I didn't, and I scared myself to death. I never got through one. I thought there's no chance that I'm not going to hit the wall. Definitely going to hit it now. It slid right in the slot, went back wide open, never lifted until I got into three, and I was so far ahead that I completely blew 3 and 4, and I still was on the pole. That's how good that I got into turn one. Very, very low for that.
And so we begin with Austin Hill in the Richard Childress racing car making his first Darlington Cup start. He started top 10 in all 7 of his Xfinity races here. This is the United Rentals Chevrolet.
That number brings back some memories. I drove that car, Kev.
Yeah, and as this qualifying session goes, this racetrack will clean up like we talk about every week, but here more than others, and you will have to make a commitment. And a lot of the speed that you heard Brad talk about it in his interview will be how much you have to lift on the entry to turn one, and that will carry that speed all the way through to turn 3 when you're wide open off the exit of turn 2.
Mike, that was my Cheerios days.
That's right, Cheerios.
Yeah, Cheerios. Went from Jack Daniels to Cheerios.
Yeah.
Not together. Never together.
No, Cheerios days were much easier on his liver.
Way easier.
J.J. Yaley's making his 3rd start of the season. He has 17 Darlington races here. The best finish of 18th. This is the Wawa Chevrolet. If you're in the eastern U.S., that's a big convenience store, gas station.
Oh, yeah.
Complex. Good food.
I'm still curious how much your blood pressure went down from going from Jack Daniels to Cheerios.
Well, I can tell you which one was more fun. I had a lot of fun with Junior Mills. It's a great sponsor, but nothing as better than Jack Daniels.
30-31 for J.J. Yaley. Eric Jones. Now, not only is this the John Andretti throwback paint scheme, but in the last stages of John's life, the slogan, "Check it for Andretti," went throughout the garage, really made a big impact. And Advent Health is supporting that Check It for Andretti initiative that we honor John's memory with.
Well, you heard right there in the turn 1, Eric he went to the gas, had to come out of the gas, and that's that commitment that Clint's talking about going up the hill. He immediately realized he wasn't going to make it and not hit the wall, so he had to check up out of the gas, and that's what you do not want to have happen in this qualifying session. When you go back to the gas, you want to go to it all the way. I would stay off the apron in turn 1 if it was me. I think it upsets the car.
Excuse me, 29-61 for John Andretti. For John Andretti's paint scheme with Eric Jones. Shane Van Gisbergen in the 88 WeatherTech Chevrolet finished 26th last fall at Darlington, his only Cup race here. Single round qualifying. 1-1.
And you hear Shane having to go on and off of the throttle right there as the car slides.
29.92, the 43 ran at 61.
So he is second. Cole Custer's Haas Automation Ford. Cole has 7 Darlington starts with the best of start of 14 twice. He was an Xfinity race winner here in 2019. Turning out Jimmy Spencer, Chip Ganassi Racing throwback scheme. Quickest, 29.48. Custer. Cody Ware in the Jacob Construction Ford has 5 Darlington starts with the best finish of 19th. Tribute to Tommy Baldwin, Rick Ware Racing Competition Director, who won the Daytona 500 with Warren Burton driving. And cars looked much like this, but carried a different number.
Man, you see the back of that car bottom out. We saw him get into the turn 2 exit wall there in qualifying, but that car bottomed out really good right there.
Or bad. However you want to say. I'm going to say bad.
Yeah, it was.
It's what put him in the wall earlier and about did it again.
Third for Cody Ware, 49.75.
big moment.
Riley Herbst making his first Cup Darlington start. The rookie has 4 top 10s in 10 Xfinity Series races here. This is the Monster Energy Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Or excuse me, for 2311.
It was always so hard, you know, when you come through 3 and 4 to make your lap, is that you really change the grip level in your car, right? You're out there on race trim, low air pressure, a way difference in grip level. They pump the pressures up. This thing is rip and rip time right now, max potential. But what I'm getting at, 3 and 4 is so different, drastically different than 1 and 2. You're trying to judge your grip level on your, you know, your
Outlap.
right, to what you're going to commit to getting into turn 1 off of the exit speed off of 4, and that's a hard thing to trust.
Herbst, the second fastest so far for 2311. Here is Noah Gregson, who started a Cup Best third at Miami this year. He has 2 Xfinity wins here at Darlington. This is the Beefaroo 4.
And you see him up the hill on the entry to the corner, kind of let that car fall down the hill to try to get a run off of turn 4. All the way on the apron.
So why are the times down from last year? Perhaps because today is the 3rd hottest April 5th on record at Darlington. They've been keeping records since 1902.
It was near record. The old weatherman told me that before I left the house in Winston-Salem. It's hot this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. These drivers, these long runs, it's going to get to them. The first one of the year, by far.
Gregson is fastest at 29:29.
And honestly, that could be why we saw some of the things that we saw in practice with cars trying to run down the racetrack, some of these guys trying to use the apron, and a lot of that is just trying to give yourself room in qualifying to just slide up the hill in turn 1.
Austin Cindric for Team Penske. This is the Freightliner Ford. 2 front row starts this year. His best Darlington start is 6th in the Southern 500 in 2022.
Also got through really well. Very speed was able to, when he got to the gas, it's so important on your exit of 2 to stay with the gas. As soon as you get to it, if you have to crack out of the gas, it ruins the straightaway speed, crushing your lap.
Fastest. First driver in the 28s.
1 and 2.
And that's right back to what Brad Keselowski said, and he's exactly right. Getting in and getting the speed right to get up the hill and stay in the throttle carried all the way to turn 3. And I also like the line all the way up against the wall through the middle of the corner through 3 and 4.
Well, it goes to the timing aspect of this racetrack I was talking about earlier. If you don't get into the corner hard enough, it doesn't put you in the right situation up around the corner.
Right there.
Where you have to
lift.
Yeah, you have to lift out of the gas and don't carry the momentum and speed.
Josh Berry in the Wood Brothers Wintercraft Quick Lane 4 of Jim Clark. 1965 Indy win. Berry, the Las Vegas winner this year, finished 3rd at Darlington in this race last year. He is 2nd, 29:26.
You get in too hard, you have to hit the brakes to keep from knocking the wall down. If you get in too soft, you pick up the gas too soon, you're going to knock it down on there. So frustrating.
10 of 38 in the Gainbridge Financial Chevrolet for Spire Motorsports has a new pit crew this week. They get their pit crews from Hendrick Motorsports, and there was a swap this week.
Yeah, it's so interesting what Wallace said right there. You have to make a decision on where you're going to lift, but a lot of that happens by the pace, and it's so important to get that information as we see Haley go to second quick right there. So important for the team to get the driver that information so that you can start painting that picture in your mind of where you need to lift, how much throttle you need to use, and the easy things, right? Like being wide open off of turn 2 and being able to leave the throttle down. Seeing those things with multiple cars gives you that confidence to build a simpler picture in your head and start eliminating things that you need to think about.
Brad Keselowski, last year's winner. 4 top 10s in his last 5 Darlington starts. This is the Castrol 7 critical areas Ford.
And you see that momentum from turn 1. Austin Cindric did such a good job of being able to get in the corner correctly, but get back to the throttle and commit to the throttle. And that carries all the way down to turn 3. Brad got into 3 a little bit harder, but it didn't pay dividends for him on the exit compared to Cindric's car.
Second fastest so far. John Hunter Nemechek next up for Legacy Motor Club, the Dollar Tree Toyota. 5 Darlington starts, best finish of 9th in this race in 2020. Honoring his dad's 1998 paint scheme when Joe raced for Felix Sabates.
Went from that spin to having to go out there and lay the fastest lap of your weekend in qualifying.
29:31. A.J. Allmendinger next up, the Action Industries Chevrolet. Finished top 10 in 2 of the last 3 races. He has a Darlington best 13th in the fall of 2023, his last Cup start here. Here's the Call It Racing Chevrolet.
And you can hear the throttle, you can hear the sound of the throttle. I had to just play with the throttle a little bit up the hill there in turn 1, and it just loses that little bit of distance all the way through the corner.
The Dinger comes across 4th quickest, 29:23.
It's a really good lap by Austin Cindric.
Carson Osevar was fastest in practice. He started outside of the front row here last year. Crashed out, finished 33rd. Ziegler Auto Group Chevrolet for Spire Motorsports.
It was definitely a lane up the racetrack right there. Man, he carried a lot of speed.
Stayed with it, though. Got up to the wall soon, just like you were saying in race trim. See if they can bring it down up off the wall. Stay with the gas. Austin Cindric's coming back. No can do.
Second by 5/100ths of a second.
Close.
Good job there, buddy.
Daniel Suarez has 14 Darlington starts, a best of 5th here in 2019. 1 top 10 finish. The Quaker State Chevrolet for Team Trackhouse.
Fired it in there, Clint. Into the wall.
Commitment.
Well, it's a commitment, but there's just, when you get to turn 3, you have to go off of your markers. You're not going to drive it in there. We've seen so many guys go up the hill right there and hit the fence, and when you go past your markers that you have, you just cannot stop the car headed towards the wall when you've got just a little bit too much speed.
Easier said than done. You carry so much more momentum and speed off a 2 unconsciously than you ever did all day long in this qualifying trim scenario.
Suarez is 9th. This is Austin Dillon for Richard Childress Racing. Has a best start of 9th here so far. This is the Brestree Chevrolet.
The speed is all made through turns 1 and 2, and turn 3 is just don't mess it up.
Exactly what I said about my qualifying lap. The one time I did sit on the pole. Just don't mess it up at 3 and 4.
6 for Dillon. Here's Alex Bowman for Hendrick Motorsports. Jimmy Johnson with this Southern 500 winning scheme on his Ally Chevrolet. Old winner at Miami.
Man, he got to the green really good. He had a half a car length on Austin Cindric, but just couldn't hold on through the middle of turns 1 and 2. Sometimes what happens in the middle of turns 1 and 2 is you try to hang that thing out just a touch too long to come back down the hill off the exit of 2. You have to lift because the front end gets tight and won't turn down the hill. Or you hit the wall and have to lift because it won't come down the hill. I didn't see that part.
Yeah. 13th for Bowman. Last car in Group 1 to qualify will be the Hayek Motorsports Chevrolet. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who finished better than he started in every race this year so far. This is the Sunny D Chevrolet.
Yeah, and that was quite a commitment there into turn 1. He had to get back out of the gas as he got to the wall, was able to kind of maintain on the exit of 2, shoots it into turn 3 right there. Got loose off of turn 4.
I didn't even see it. I heard it.
Yeah. Stenhouse will be 10th so far. So after Group 1, Austin Cindric's Ford, Carson Hocevar's Chevrolet.
I think that's a big reason why we're seeing these cars, overshoot and probably over-guesstimate their grip level on their cars hitting these walls. This track's hot and it's slick.
And you know how this racetrack it gets. When the hotter it gets, the harder it gets to drive.
Which takes me back to what Kyle Larson just said.
Yeah.
Probably one of the only drivers in the field that actually thinks his qualifying session's fun. I couldn't believe he said that.
Chris Buescher for FK Racing, the fifth third bank Ford, clocks in third. Just under 29 seconds.
Everybody else is on pins and needles. My man is out there telling him, man, this is one I look forward to. This is fun.
That's what makes him great.
I guess. Here's the other Monster Energy Toyota. This is the Joe Gibbs racing car for Ty Gibbs. Runner-up in this race last year, his best ever cup finish.
Had pretty good speed in practice, Kevin.
He did. And right now he's got good speed through the exit of turn 2. Now you just go down here and don't drive it in too far.
Don't give it away.
So you get a little bit loose on the entry right there. Right on top of the Austin Center car.
Nope. 3/100ths of a second slower for Ty Gibbs.
It's a good effort, though. I'm glad that he was disciplined getting into 3. You saw him, you know, you saw that discipline on display, backed up the corner a little bit, gave up a little bit, but he stayed right there where he needed to be time-wise.
Zane Smith in the Long John Silver's Ford has 2 top 10 starts this season. This will be his 3rd cup race at Darlington.
He had a big moment off of 2 in practice. Got through there a lot better that time. Had a little fresh on his mind, though, going through there. Last time by, thought wrecked the car.
But you saw him check up a little bit early. He was ahead of Austin Center through the turns 1 and 2, and he actually just slowed his car down a little more than Austin for whatever reason and lost it off the turn 4. Great lap, though.
Yeah, it is. He's going to like this track position.
5th fastest. Ty Dillon, we're calling racing. 5 top 20s at Darlington in 10 starts. The best of 12. This is the Beaver Street Fisheries Chevrolet.
Say that 3 times fast, Mike. Starting to see a lot of those cars start to have that little moment right there, the little wiggle into turn 3.
For Dillon. Kyle Busch for Richard Childress Racing, the winner here in 2008. 3 runner-up finishes here since the Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen Chevrolet for Richard Childress.
We thought this car was really good in race trim when you look at the graphs and the long runs, and
He did too. He liked it. Yeah.
bring back in the throttle, drive that car up to the wall, lift again. It's going to be a really good lap for Kyle Busch.
He got to the throttle very quick. You said it. Second one and cracked out of that thing, was right back to it.
1/100th of a second off.
So close.
Austin Cindric. William Byron in a Jeff Gordon throwback Exalta Chevrolet scheme for Motorsports. Won this race 2 years ago.
Big corner in turn 1 for Williams. See him up on the racetrack, didn't touch the apron, able to carry a ton of speed and get the car rotated up near the fence.
Playing on house money, don't give it all away and get in 3. Do not do that. This is a big lap.
Massive lap for William Byron.
Might be the Flames, 28.77.
If you're going to have flames on your car, Mike, you better be fast.
You're going to get in that car, you better be fast.
Give you a decent qualifying lap. Good job.
Good job to you.
All right, Todd Gilliland with that offset stripe on the Ray Fox tribute. Rudabush Ford for Front Row Motorsports, coming off his second top 10 finish of the season.
Man, they all might look like that from William Byron from here on out. He got it all and bumped into the corner, or bumped into this racetrack, Kevin. He got into 1, back to the gas, the momentum off the 2. Was awesome in 3 and 4. That's going to be a tough lap.
Good run for Gilliland, 5th quickest so far.
I mean, that's the point. You're watching that ghost car right there, Mike, and, you know, I heard you say 5th quickest, but, boy, it looked like he was a mile away from Byron.
And that's the advantage of being late in this run. You get to see where that speed is made up, especially if you're William Byron's teammates.
Here's the Las Vegas pole winner, Michael McDowell. His best Darlington start so far is 9th in the Delaware Life Chevrolet for Spire Motorsports. Regardless of who wins it, it's going to be the fastest pole for the 7th generation NASCAR Cup car at Darlington.
Which is hard to believe as hot as it is.
Just barely touched the wall right there off the turn two. Didn't really lose much time though.
Fourth for McDonald.
It's picking up. Business is definitely picking up.
Tyler Reddick for Team 2311 in the McDonald's Toyota has started in the top 10 the last 8 Darlington races, including the pole here last year when he led 174 laps.
Yeah, Bubba's been on. These guys have been on a roll. Tyler, his teammate, has been on a roll. Tyler has had a few bumps in the road as he's gone, and I think a lot of that are the expectations that we expect out of this 45 team. But we know that he can get it done when it comes to these places where you got to rip it around the fence, Clint.
Yeah, and I think that's going to help him prevail on the longer runs.
Third for Reddick.
Again, it kind of takes you back to that ghost car. You see William Byron kind of drive away from those guys, and you give up, right? You think that lap's no good. But third quick. Go ahead and say it, Kevin.
Yeah, well, second quick to ninth quick is in the 90s, so it's a half a 10. And then it's William Byron.
Ryan Blaney for Team Penske. The Menards Dutch Ford Ford's paint scheme honoring Ryan's dad, Dave's Xfinity Series win at Charlotte in 2006.
That car didn't look like it changed directions quite as good for him. He looked a little bit tighter, more bound up than wanted to, Kevin, coming back down the hill. Same thing there. And gave back out the gas a little bit, getting into 3, gave up speed to Byron. I still think it's going to be a decent lap.
It is. Fifth. He is the second fastest Ford so far, behind teammate Austin Cindric in second.
I mean, look, we're talking grip level, slip and sliding around, two drastically different ends of this racetrack, a 94 to a 95. Second, going through fifth.
Here, Mike.
By the way, the flag that he held up after victory lane there was given to him by a fan just before the race, so he was honoring that gift with an 11 against the world flag that created quite a bit of commotion on social media during the week.
But I agree with you. You had the whole world rooting for him when they held that flag up.
All right, here's the Joe Gibbs Racing Bass Pro Toyota for Chase Briscoe, who won here last fall after starting third.
As close as I've seen anybody to Byron through 1 and 2.
Man.
Didn't quite get it turned back down the hill on 2. Still within the car length, though.
They aren't having to zoom out on SMT yet. So that's closer than most have been.
I'd say as you want
It's a good exit right there.
Have that. It's a good lap.
Second for Briscoe by a tenth of a second.
He'll be happy about that.
Yeah, and he should be. I mean, that thing was a handful as he got off the apron and went up the hill and won, and that exit. I wish I could explain to you how big of a moment that feels like in the car.
Brian Priest, top 10 in the last 3 races, his longest streak in Cup. Chevy Kozlowski, Kroger, Country, Croc, Ford.
I'm glad you said that, Kevin. You're past the point of no return. In other words, you're full committed. And if it slips, you're in the fence. It's simple as that. That's the level of commitment that you have to get to in this qualifying session. To put it out there, put it on the line, you jump it over the cushion and hit the wall, so be it. But you have to go for it to run this lap.
That's a good one for Priest. He is second.
Well, we talked about the racetrack and the temperature and everything going up, Clint, but as we get towards the end of this qualifying session, there are a lot of cars that are putting up big laps.
Ross Chastain, his best start, 5th at Darlington. That came here 2 years ago. He's in the Bushlight Fishing Chevrolet after attending the Bassmasters Classic Pro-Am in March in Texas. Trackhouse Racing.
Yeah, we saw him wiggle out of that car right there in turn 1, and it does not take much for you to start losing ground when you have those moments all the way to turn 3.
Usually when it goes into 1, it doesn't get any better down there. Same thing getting into 3 and 4, loose in. Good racetrack for Ross, though. Always runs well here. He'll be a factor.
Going to come from deep in the field, though. He's 19th right now. Joey Logano, Michelle Pennzoil Ford. Team Penske got his first top 10 finish of the season. Last week, the latest in the season, the defending champion has gotten the top 10. But finally, the monkey off his back. Here we go.
You can see just couldn't trust it, right? Didn't have the grip to stay on the gas and carry the momentum. Had to slow it down as he approached the wall. 1 and 2 there.
Yeah, we see him a little bit lower, right in the middle lane. Most of the fast guys have been all the way up next to the wall in the middle of the corner, but he chose the middle lane and didn't work too bad for him.
14th at 29:03.
Yeah, just lost so much time through turns 1 and 2. Never really made it up.
Bubba Wallace, 4 top 10s in his last 5 Darlington starts. There's the Columbia Sportswear Toyota for 2311 Racing.
Yeah, these guys have been on a roll. We talked about it while Tyler Reddick was going, but Bubba Wallace and his 23 team, you see them right up next to the fence, used everything up right there.
It's a great year for Bubba Wallace. Continue that momentum. Woo! Got it all off the floor. That's as close as you get there.
4th for Wallace. He's the second fastest Toyota to Chase Briscoe.
I want to go back to that. Went into that corner 10th. He came out 4th. That was a good 3 and 4. Picked up speed, found speed in 3 and 4, but most haven't.
4 cars to go. Here's Kyle Larson for Hendrick Motorsports on the HendrickCars.com Chevrolet. This year's Miami race winner. He's been started top 10 in 6 of the last 7 Darlington races.
I think this is the bullet that William Byron has to dodge, and I think he did.
Yeah, he dodged this bullet. Kyle had to lift going up the hill. He was full commitment and just had too much speed and had to lift right before the fence.
That full commitment, I said it, that's what it's going to take to beat William Byron. It was a perfect lap by that 24. If anybody's going to take it down, I'm just going to have to go for it. And if it doesn't work out, so be it.
Larson is 16th. So Priest is going to be the fastest Ford because the 3 cars left include 1 Chevy and 2 Toyotas. Here's Chase Elliott, the UniFirst Chevrolet honoring Ken Schrader for Hendrick Motorsports. Chase started 2nd at Martinsville last week, his best start of the year. He was an Xfinity winner here in 2014. Going to be the first Chevrolet in this field with 2 Toyotas to go. Elliott 14th.
Mike, you said it. We got those manufacturers out of the way, but there's 2 Toyotas right here to cap off the field. And I look over at this scoring monitor here. Briscoe, Wallace, there's 2 Toyotas in the top 4. Can Toyota take William Byron off of this pole?
Well, here's Christopher Bell. He's been the top Toyota this season. Toyota has won the last 4 poles here.
Well, if you're going to do it, you're going to have to do it right here through 1 and 2.
Wall Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing, honoring Bell's mentor, Rick Ferkel.
Watch how important down there the crumbs are, though. Pretty much stayed right there, not speed-wise, but just like when we watched Bubba Wallace, went in 10th, come out 4th in 3 and 4. When the lap times are this tight over here, any little slip up, it's the crumbs that make the difference. 1 more left, Mike.
Well, 16th for Christopher Bell. It's all down to William Byron against Denny Hamlin in the Sport Clips Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Got his 55th career win last week, tying Rusty Wallace on the all-time list.
See, Denny was a little bit lower. His speed all came just from how much he slowed the car down and back to the throttle right there early in turn 1, and he's kept that gap all the way up to turn 2, being able to stay low, losing a little more ground on the entry, but making up for it on the exit climb.
3rd for Hamlin, and the Toyota pole streak at Darlington is broken by William.